As the sun sets over the lockdown, Florence will now hope that the world will come to its rescue and help the city preserve its history for future generations.
African Americans in Galveston, Texas were really among the last to know freedom had come.
The poet in me thinks about the scene of General Gordon Granger reading to them his General Order 3, that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free.
I think that it's really important that we focus on that day on African American, not just achievement, but also resistance. And you see that right now in the uprisings around the country. And I think it's taken on a particular poignance this year.
The Emancipation Proclamation had gone into effect January 1st, 1863. This Union General was making his announcement on June 19th, 1865.
And so in a way, Juneteenth also admits to a delayed freedom, that it took too long for us to be free.
Hey everyone, I'm Trymaine Lee. We are in the midst of a great reckoning on race in America, but in many ways, it's a reckoning on America itself, of what this country has been in the past, what it is today, and what it could one day be. As we grapple with these big fundamental questions, we're left to interrogate virtues we assume to be true, that at its core, America is a land of freedom. But freedom has never been free, especially for the descendants of enslaved Africans who toiled in bondage for centuries. It took struggle and bloodshed over many years. On this Juneteenth, Black Independence Day, a commemoration of freedom for those once held in slavery, we ask the question, are we truly free yet? This is Can You Hear Us Now, Juneteenth, a discussion about justice, equality, and the meaning of freedom. It's been 155 years since all Black Americans finally learned of their emancipation from slavery. Yet some say the struggle for true freedom continues. After the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and Rayshard Brooks, millions flooded the streets all over the world, demanding justice, equity, and freedom. I spoke with a few of the foot soldiers in that fight to find out what they believe true freedom really means. From Minneapolis to Paris, from London to Atlanta, from New York City to Washington, D.C.
This is what democracy looks like.
The call for equality, justice, and freedom. Freedom. It's what 93-year-old Opal Lee has been fighting for most of her life.
A group of people in the neighborhood where my parents had just bought a house didn't want us there, and they burned the place down. It happened on the 19th of June.
That date, June 19th, or as some call it, Juneteenth, Black Independence Day. It's the day in 1865 when a Union Army general arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the Civil War was over and enslaved people were free. It was 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Lee is campaigning to make Juneteenth a national holiday. Each year, she walks 2.5 miles, symbolizing the time it took for all Black people to get their freedom. Do you ever get tired of just having to push and having to fight?
No! Gee whiz, no. I'm not one of those people who are sitting in a rocking chair thinking the Lord's gonna come get me. He gonna have to catch me. If we can just understand that we all bleed red blood and that we simply need to get past this thing of color.
But for over 400 years, color has been used to divide Americans.
Anti-Blackness is the organizing principle of white supremacy in the United States. We are the gold standard of those who've been oppressed based on the racial caste system that racial slavery, genocide, settler colonialism set up in this country.
Dr. Peniel Joseph is a leading expert on race and history. Do we have a fully realized freedom in America?
No, we don't. We've had racial progress. If you're viewed as a citizen by law enforcement, if you're viewed as a citizen by your fellow neighbors, they don't marginalize you. They don't dehumanize you. They don't incarcerate you. They don't kill you. So that's why we say Black Lives Matter.
And for America's younger generation, justice and true freedom still seems elusive.
As a Black person, freedom doesn't mean anything until Black liberation is achieved.
Kerrigan Williams and Jacqueline LeBain co-founded Freedom Fighters DC in the midst of the George Floyd protests. They plan to make this Juneteenth a call to action. How important do you think it is for Black folks and white folks to come together in this moment?
It can't just be Black people fighting for Black people. It needs to be all people fighting for Black people.
And Opal Lee is glad to see a new generation rising.
I'm delighted with what the young people are doing. I'm not wishing I was younger, but hey, I'd like to be out there in the middle of it.
With me now is Dr. Peniel Joseph, founding director of the Center for the Study of Race and Democracy. Tiffany Crutcher is the twin sister of Terrence Crutcher, who was shot and killed by a police officer in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2016, and is now the founder of the Terrence Crutcher Foundation. Anna DeVere Smith is an actor and playwright. And author, retired Army captain, and CEO of Robin Hood, Wes Moore. Thank you all for joining me. Dr. Joseph, I want to go back to this notion of freedom. Black folks have certainly fought for it. But what is true freedom in this American context? Have we achieved it? And if not, why not?
Well, we have yet to achieve true freedom. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. struggled his whole life for radical Black citizenship, and Malcolm X talked of radical Black dignity. And King defined citizenship as not just the absence of racial oppression and racial segregation. He defined citizenship as the appearance of healthcare, decent housing, and really a guaranteed income. And that's what the Poor People's Campaign was about. So to achieve citizenship, we have to not only get rid of thousands of racist policies and transform systemic racism in this country, we have to actually have the appearance of anti-racist and racial justice policies. And for Black people, that means very simple things. It means the ability to accumulate wealth, to have income, to have housing, to have health care, and really to have safety and security, and not in the way we think about the criminal justice system, which has incarcerated and punished and demonized Black people, but safety and security to have investment in communities, to have mental and physical wellness for our children, to have access for our LGBTQ communities, to say that Black women's lives matter, that Black trans women's lives matter. So it really means both the end of racial oppression, but the appearance of institutions that are both anti-racist and are promoting racial justice in every facet of their being.
Wes, Dr. Joseph talked about Malcolm X there, and I want to talk to you about the idea of racial progress. Malcolm X once said that stabbing someone in the back and pulling the knife out 2 inches isn't actually progress. Progress is removing the knife and then beginning the healing process. Where are we in terms of that process? And metaphorically speaking, is the knife still in the back of Black America?
The knife is absolutely still in the back of Black America. I mean, think about it, where according to the Federal Reserve right now, a Black family possesses a net worth of just shy of $18,000 compared to a net worth of $171,000 for a white family. So in other words, one white family has the net worth of 10 Black families. And that's not because these families worked harder. That's because of histories and structures and systemic racism that has been placed into all the frames within our large society. Race is one of the most predictable, one of the greatest predictors of outcomes across several areas within our society, and that is life expectancy, academic achievement, income, wealth, maternal mortality. And so if we're not willing to acknowledge the history of why these disparities exist, then there's no way we can actually begin to attack them with any real degree of sincerity. And so, yes, progress, when we talk about progress can also only be made if we're willing to acknowledge the history of why the progress has been so backwards and reverse in the way that these systems have been built.
Anna, Wes talks about those economic disparities, and in so many ways, that's also been violent, right? The violent economic dislocation of folks. But when it comes to actual violence, Anna, this week marks 5 years since the Emmanuel Church massacre, and we're on the heels of a string of deadly police shootings. What role has police, vigilante, and white supremacist violence played in limiting black freedom?
Huge, huge. Not just in terms of lives lost, but also it's a spiritual assault. I have friends who are accomplished black individuals who are afraid to go out for a run. And of course, the massacre in Charleston, we'll never forget it. So I think all of these things, the grief that's caused, the anxiety that's caused, in addition to the blood that is shed.
Sadly, many of us watched the video of your brother being killed by a police officer. And you are among countless black people who've had a family member killed by police violence. And I want to ask you, when the state kills, what do we lose collectively? Obviously, you lost your brother, but all of us, have we all lost something when that happens?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Trymaine. All I can say is that we're in a state of emergency as it relates to being black in America. The past few weeks, they've been tumultuous, they've been triggering, and of course, they've brought back memories of what happened to my twin here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And today, everyone from all over the country is touching down on Tulsa, Oklahoma to commemorate Juneteenth, and not only Juneteenth, but to continue the protest of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and of course, my twin brother right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But you can't really talk about what's happening today in Tulsa, Oklahoma without reflecting back on what happened almost 100 years ago during the Tulsa race massacre. The same police culture, that same state violence that burnt down Black Wall Street is the same state violence that killed my twin brother, and that's killing black and brown people in America today. And so we all should be concerned.
When we think about the systems that bind us, and you think about whether it's access to health care, whether it's criminal justice and police violence, black folks are trying to move through these systems. And one of those systems that we've been grappling with for a very long time is the political system, the electoral system. And we're in an election year, one with really high stakes. And there's already concern about voter suppression efforts. And I want to ask each of you, can we vote our way to freedom? Wes, let's start with you.
The answer, can we vote ourselves to freedom, is we have to, because we have to understand how much voting matters and how much laws matter. I think about the amount of progress, the progress we have been able to make is because that we've been able to push a value system that eventually our laws were able to keep up with. Where as Dr. King once said, that laws won't change the heart, but they will protect me from the heart. And so who we put in these offices and what we permit to be done on our behalf as taxpayers, it does matter. And so as we're thinking about this election, to know that there is not a single bit of philanthropy or corporate social responsibility that is going to be enough to be able to not only undo the level of inequity that's happened, but also to actively push us towards an anti-racist agenda that can actually give our communities and our people real opportunities of growth. That is something that has to be done in concert with elected officials who are sitting in these seats and supposed to be advocating on our behalf.
Anna, what's your take on that? Obviously, folks have made it harder to vote. There are many hurdles. You think about voter ID laws. You think about the long lines. Black folks facing this election. Is this a hurdle that black folks can get over, and is this a way towards freedom?
Well, let's go back to the notion of not knowing that you were free, that the information that you were free was denied you, right? So as again, we think about Juneteenth. So I would say that we know about this throughout history, and that activists, all of us, should assemble what's happened before to think about how we can disrupt it, actively disrupt it.
Dr. Joseph, what do you think? Historically speaking, it's been tough, and their voter suppression efforts have been keeping folks back. Is this a way?
I think we have to vote, and everybody should register to vote and, vote like our lives depend on it in November, because they do. But I also think it's about more than the vote. The transformation that we're seeing now is about Black people alongside of Latinx, Native American, Asian, Indigenous, and white allies really taking to the streets. We have to remember democracy is in the streets. What Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the greatness of America lied in the right to protest for right. Too often, those of us who have access think that those who don't should vote, and we wonder why they do not. Citizenship is more than the vote. Citizenship is healthcare, it's childcare, it's Black kids not having disproportionate rates of asthma, it's Black women not having negative outcomes in terms of maternal outcomes and lower baby weight than their white counterparts, irrespective of income. So we have to organize on the ground. We have to love each other. We have to convince different institutions locally to have deep empathy for Black lives. And when we think about the Black Lives Matter movement and the policy agenda of a movement for Black lives, they talked about policies that were not just dependent on the voting, but depending on all of us reimagining American democracy and making racial justice the beating heart of American democracy. So yes to voting, but we need to transform food deserts. We need to end racial segregation in our public schools and in our neighborhoods. And we need to have guaranteed income and health care and housing for all Black communities in the United States. So we don't have just archipelagos of prosperity in the Black community and vast searing racial wildernesses of disadvantage and police brutality and incarceration and premature death of Black communities. So voting is a part of this, but until we educate and feed and house and clothe and employ every single member of that community, they're not going to use the voting rights that have been suppressed since 2013. So voting is only the tip of the spear. So when we think about the political sword and the political shield, voting is our shield, but that sword is organizing, educating, and agitating, and we're seeing it on the streets of America and globally. The only reason why corporations are saying Black Lives Matter is we have forced them to say that Black Lives Matter because we have democracy in the streets, and we've done what Dr. King tried to do in 1968, a poor people's campaign that was the first Occupy Washington movement that said nonviolent civil disobedience was going to be a political sword to transform American democracy, even when Americans didn't want that democracy to be transformed for Black people.
Tiffany, thank you very much. Dr. Joseph, Wes, and Anna, stay with me. Coming up, we're on the ground in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the city that was home to Black Wall Street in the early 20th century for a Juneteenth celebration. Plus, we're talking health and wealth in the Black community. Stay with us.
Juneteenth is another kind of Independence Day with a celebration of freedom, food, and family, especially food. And I think that quality is still there very much with us. You know, it wasn't the Emancipation Proclamation necessarily that freed people. It was our efforts over the years to run away, to resist. It was Black people's own wills that set them free. They formed abolitionist groups, insurrections. They fought for their freedom.
Among the chaos that I found a father trying to teach his son about peace.
We don't have to retaliate with anger. We retaliate with love. That's why we're down here. There's always another way. So that's all I want him to see.
Today, the World Health Organization officially calling it a pandemic. None of us is unaffected by its impact.
Try everything that we can to keep life as normal as possible for everybody.
If it gets into an environment like this, it's going to spread like rapid fire.
We're going to build this economy back stronger than ever before.
There's a number of things I'd be doing that are not being done right now.
Coming in November, people are going to be voting not for a person, but for stability.
I have to plan a funeral. How is this going to work?
You don't prepare for giving birth in a pandemic.
The importance of music is to keep our spirits up.
I'm Trymaine Lee. Join me as we go into America to hear from everyday people grappling with the most pressing issues of our time.
We'd like like to think that we live in some sort of post-racial America. We are reminded time and time again that we do not.
Chanel, I reached out to you after I watched the mayor of Atlanta act as a mom trying to raise her son, and I think about you and your kids.
I remember her coming home saying, why don't I have a ponytail like the white girls? It's okay to notice that you're different. You just have to not feel less than. That's my thing.
I cherish the fact that we can have these discussions. I feel safe talking about this with you guys.
You're watching NBC News Now. We've got some breaking news.
We actually saw a large convoy of the National Guard come through here.
It's news made for your streaming world. Live weekdays starting at 6 a.m. Eastern.
A virus that knows no borders.
A real catastrophe happening here in Brazil before our very eyes.
Our global fight against it unites us.
Here in Mexico City, the people I spoke to said if they don't work, they're not going to be able to feed their families.
Our NBC News and Sky teams are on the ground, learning from where it's been.
The South Korean government is bringing students back over the next couple of weeks in stages.
So that you can better understand how it will impact us here.
Life across Italy is back to normal. It just doesn't look like the same normal as before.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
These are the United States, a united people with a united purpose.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
A great people has been moved to defend a great nation.
All of us can extend a hand to those in need.
Where we are with Juneteenth and with the people in the streets is that, yes, freedom must also always be cherished because the country was founded on the principle of independence and freedom. We as Black people have borne the burden of most of what is horrible about the country, but we've also been the ones that tried to make America live into those documents. Do what you said you would do in the Constitution, what you said you would do in the Declaration of Independence. Juneteenth is that holiday that encompasses it all. And for us, for Black people in particular, we have to remember as well, because if you don't fight for freedom, if you don't continue to make certain that your children, your children's children understand what it is to be free and to fight for it, then you will lose it.
Although today is the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth, many Americans are just now learning about the significance of this holiday. Historians and educators say this is because many children aren't taught about major Black historical events in school. NBC BLK reporter Janelle Ross is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there's a big celebration going on. She has a must-read new piece on NBCnews.com entitled From Juneteenth to the Tulsa Massacre. Janelle, you're on the ground. What's the mood like?
It's an interesting mood. I would say it's very festive here in what's known as the Greenwood District, which is exactly the heart and center of what used to be known as Black Wall Street. They've modified their usual celebration a bit. Usually it's a pretty big festival that goes on all day, well into the night, in a field a little ways from here, maybe about a block and a half from here. But this year they've scaled things down largely because of the coronavirus. There are a number of people here. There are many of your sort of traditional activities. There are singers, there will be speeches, and of course there are also people here registering people to vote. But then there is this sort of added element. I think that I've been told that this is perhaps one of the more diverse crowds at a Juneteenth event here in Tulsa. There certainly is a diverse crowd here. About 6 minutes away to the south and west in downtown proper, there are people already lined up to try to see the president at the Bach Center, and that is a decidedly not diverse crowd. I would say also that there are a lot of people who are certainly in conversations with people talking about the things that are going on in our country, from the protests to certainly the issues with policing. And in keeping with something that I heard you mention, Trymaine, I had a conversation with a gentleman who is a baby boomer, grew up here in Tulsa, was born here in Tulsa, and told me that he was taught absolutely nothing about the massacre right here, that began right here at this intersection in Tulsa when he was in school. And the only reason that he really learned much about it is he had a high school job working in the library and saw references to it in other newspapers and in other cities and in books. And that is how he even became aware that it had occurred.
Janelle, let me ask you this, just really quickly. Do you get the sense there on the ground that this year, the Juneteenth commemoration has added significance in any way?
So, yes. I mean, again, I think some people seem to be here, I think perhaps as a show of solidarity, a show of interest. And then certainly, it does not take long. If you strike up a conversation with almost anyone here, it really doesn't take long for anyone to get to the issue of policing and police accountability. It doesn't seem to take long for people to then move on to broader issues of inequality, in particular economic inequality. Obviously, in an area that once had a thriving Black business district that was known all over the world, there are a lot of concerns about the issues that seem to stand in the way of so many Black businesses being able to function, open, begin business, much less thrive. And certainly there are Black-owned businesses here now, but this is a whisper of what this area used to produce.
Janelle Ross, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Your reporting has been spot on over the last several weeks, so thank you.
Thanks.
Back with me is Dr. Joseph and Anna DeVere Smith and Wes Moore. Dr. Joseph, let's get back into this wealth disparity. The typical white family has 10 times the wealth of the typical Black family. Help us make sense of that. Give us a quick history on how we got to this moment.
Well, we get to the wealth disparity really in the aftermath of racial slavery and right after Juneteenth. African Americans had been promised 40 acres and a mule, and that promise was not kept. So instead of being able to have land, and there was 4 million free Black women and men, most of them were living in the South in the former Confederacy. And when we think about what they were able to do was, instead of getting 40 acres and a mule, they got sharecropping, peonage, and the convict lease system, which criminalized Blacks and really set up the first racial profiling system in the 19th century that continues into the 21st century. So there was really this great wealth disparity starting in the late 19th century. We've had a movement for reparations when we talk about that wealth disparity. The great historian Mary Frances Berry has the brilliant book, My Face is Black, My Face is True, about Callie House, a Black woman who led, like Black women have been leading for centuries, Black freedom movements and Black liberation struggles for pensions for formerly enslaved African-American women and men. Ultimately, she was unsuccessful, but even as we get deeper into the late 19th and early 20th century, Black people founded towns even before Tulsa. They founded freedom villages in Texas and other places, Oklahoma. And many of those freedom towns and villages were ultimately massacred and victims of racial pogroms. Black people who did get a chance to buy land and settle hundreds of thousands of acres, a lot of times that land was lost through unscrupulous real estate deals. Courthouses refused to legitimize Black wills, so they became heirs' property, and many, many multiple descendants had access to them, and they could be taken advantage of by white real estate speculators. And then when we get into the 20th century and the creation of the New Deal and the Second World War, Black people don't have access to the GI Bill. They don't have access to the 30-year FHA low-interest mortgages, which is how most of the white middle class is built. Homes that cost $50,000, $75,000 in 1950 would be worth $350,000 and $450,000 two generations later. That's the wealth that white families gave to their children in ways that African Americans never could get. So there's a reparations movement. We've got NCOBRA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations. We've got a great new book by Sandy Darity talking about reparations, the esteemed economist at Duke University. So when we think about wealth gaps, we have to remember Black people built up the wealth in the United States. Scholars call it racial capitalism. I call it racist capitalism and white supremacist capitalism. And what Black people have done is build up global capitalism, but never got the value that they produced, have it accrue to themselves or their neighborhoods. So we've consistently undervalued Black neighborhoods and Black property. And not only that, we've had banks like Wells Fargo and others during the Great Recession provide racist loans to Black homeowners that they were calling mud loans. And so we're marginalized economically, both in terms of income, but certainly in wealth. So the conversations that we have to have when we're saying, how are we going to fix this, have to include reparations. And a movement for Black lives has reparations as a policy agenda. This is not a check for every individual Black person. This is investment in education, in housing, in transforming segregated, economically impoverished neighborhoods into beacons of investment and American citizenship and Black dignity.
Wes, Dr. Joseph kind of took us the long route to where we are now, from right after Reconstruction into the present. And you work day to day trying to shrink this gap with families and communities every single day. When you look at those huge economic disparities, do you see a through line? And what's the lasting impact been on Black communities?
The lasting impact on Black communities has been devastating. And I think it's both in terms of how we've exposed levels of vulnerability. And I think we've seen how that's played itself out with COVID-19 and the fact that when you look at Black communities and brown communities, these communities have been hit double, both in terms of infection rates and also in terms of death rates. And that is completely because this is a virus that exposes pre-existing vulnerabilities. And so when you're looking at the fact that you have communities, for example, communities in West Baltimore, where half of the children are growing up with asthma, you know that that is a community that is going to be disproportionately hit when it comes to these introduction of vulnerability. And so it's both about how there's an underlying vulnerability that is lasting, but also I think it's important to point out psychological. It's because when we're talking about the things such as how do we think about and how exactly are our children, what do they see when they think of themselves? One of the challenges I've always had when people say to me, and they say it almost in a passive way, they say, well, I don't see. But what they're essentially saying is, I don't see your Black. And they're saying it in a way that's making me think that it's making me feel better, without understanding that that's something that I'm proud of. That I want people, and both my children, but all children, to know of the legacy of race, and the legacy of truth, and the legacy of violence. Thinking about both we build up, both has to be the actual operational infrastructure. But it's also about being honest about the pride that all of us should feel in the fact that we come from a survival and a growth and a king and queen legacy that in many ways has been robbed about how we think about our own involvement and our own engagement in this society.
Anna, COVID-19 has been described as a heat-seeking missile for vulnerable communities with layers of pre-existing conditions. I wonder how the collision of race and COVID-19, what it's revealed about America. And you talked earlier about the kind of psychic wounds and psychic trauma. When you see all of this colliding together, what does it reveal about who we are?
It makes me think about the failure in the 20th century to have not only, good health, but good healthcare workers. And by that, I mean, let's look at the whole medical community, a community that's used to making procedures or doing procedures, or this idea that I came across in the New York Times. I don't know the author, I'm so sorry, but the notion of the flawed Black body, that there's something the matter with you, and you have to do certain things to correct that. So to me, in the same way that we need to revise schools to make sure that our kids will stay in school and learn to be curious, learn to be joyous, learn to be kind, learn so many things and not get thrown out of school in the school to prison pipeline, we need to revise what medicine is to attach itself in a different way to diseases that are socially determined, chronic diseases in particular. If you have a doctor who looks down when you come in, and doesn't want to have a conversation with you, there's no relationship. And real healing happens with a relationship. So if the doctors only want to do procedures, then we need other kinds of healthcare workers who want to bring people through the gauntlet, run the gauntlet with them to well-being.
Wes Moore, Dr. Peniel Joseph, and Anna DeVere Smith, thank you all so very much. Don't forget to catch the latest episode of my podcast, Into America. I talked to the Reverend William J. Barber II, the president of Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, about the importance of building coalitions for lasting change and the campaign's upcoming virtual march on Washington. Download now wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to all of my guests for joining me in this very important conversation. In this moment of great reflection, with freedom on our minds, perhaps there's a chance for us to finally get it right, to be who we say we are, to unburden ourselves from what has always been our greatest weakness, racism, and to rise together in the ideals that have always been our greatest strengths, freedom and equality. Thank you and good night.
More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Over the last 7 days, my NBC News colleagues have been traveling the world to tell the biggest stories. And I've been having vital conversations with the people affected. Let's find out what changed and what mattered this week. Coming up in the programme.